Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 4, Episode 4 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, which is slated to come out on June 14th, 2021. And today, we're doing Joe's Soulless ginger beer that I just brewed over the summer, and a cider from November of 2020. So we're gonna like see how those end up being, how they end up tasting, and kind of go with it. So first is the ginger beer. That is 6.5% ABV. It is lightly carbonated, and it's really meant for mixers. But it's the same recipe that I've used in the past. It's just I made a larger batch of it.
Yeah, I think we've done this one for the podcast once before. I really liked it then. I still really like it now. It's a little bit drier than the one last time. So I can see your comment about like using it for mixers. But in all honesty, I could drink it just like this. For somebody that maybe likes a little bit of a sweeter drink, put like a little bit of simple syrup in this. And this is great. It's not overly complex. The alcohol isn't like super strong. It's only like 6%, so you don't taste that much of it. And it's just unapologetically ginger.
Yep.
I mean, very spicy, very strong. Not the strongest ginger beer I've ever had, but it's certainly above average. Like, to get a ginger beer this strong, I would have to go to like a specialty shop that carries stuff like that.
Yep.
So I'm really digging it.
Yeah. I've got you a 6-pack set aside, so whenever you're ready to take them home.
In all honesty, because I want my wife to drink them too, is we will probably go get like a 2-liter bottle of like, what is it, Schweppes ginger beer? Probably saying that name terribly wrong.
Ginger ale. Schweppes
is
ginger ale.
Ginger ale.
Ginger beer.
Yeah, that's right. Any of the like, not Canada Dries, because Canada Dry doesn't actually use ginger. It's just ginger flavoring. But yeah, one of the good ginger ales, and maybe do like half and half. And they would be like a great sort of like Radler type of situation.
Well, while I agree with that, I'll tell you a couple things that I've been doing with this. One, I've taken some local whiskey, Heart of the Biscuit.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've put 2-ounce pour in the bottom of a beer mug, and then a little bit of grenadine, and mixed this together and basically made I'm going to say a whiskey and stormy.
Yeah. I could definitely see it.
And it is absolutely delicious.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't have any rum in the house right now, but I need to get some because this would be great for dark and stormies. I love those, especially if you take the, what are they called, the painkillers, or that's also ginger beer, rum. Maybe there's ginger beer in it. Well, mine will have ginger beer in it. I think the other thing is pineapple juice is where I get some of that sweetness from. So there's a little bit of that in there to like floral it up a bit. That'd be really good. This is still, I think, one of my favorite things that you make. Because it just hits everything perfect. It's not overcomplicated. You don't have to worry about the extra flavors from the yeast or the changes in flavors as it aged from like the rinds of fruit and stuff like that. Just a lot of ginger, a little bit of clean alcohol.
And some nice citrus fruit flavors because it's got a little bit of lemon and lime in there that just kind of round off that ginger flavor.
Exactly.
So you get the punch of the ginger and the lemon and lime together, and it's perfect.
Yeah, and the citrus of it really, it's hard to pin down. Like, I'm lemon, I'm lime. It's just that nice tropical citrus. The same thing you get from like acid blends, which is why things like lemon and lime work so well. Is because by having a variety of acids in there, it just smooths everything out. That's like, I think we talked about maybe season 1 or 2. That's one of the big tricks, that if you have something come out that's just like too sharp, doing a little bit of a mixture of acids, either a commercial acid mix or just your own, really helps smooth that stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also bought you a 2-ounce of the Heart of the Mystic.
Okay.
So that you could
try that.
Try that when
there you go.
I'm not going to have you do it on the podcast, even though I would love to do it. We'll do a mixed drink later in the season. Yeah. And that'll be one of the mixed drinks that we make. But I want you to like go home and like play with it and see what you kind of think. So I'm going to send you home today with some
there you go.
Ginger beer and stuff
like that. Yeah, it was absolutely a good one.
Yeah. So the next thing that we're looking at is the cider. Now, I made this in November of 2020. It's been sitting around for about a year. It's a little bit less than that. I bottled it in November. I made it in June of 2020. It's now, June of 2021. And this is a spiced apple wine, essentially, because it's over 7% ABV. But it is a cider that I made. It's not supposed to be carbonated, but it's lightly carbonated because of the petallants from the leftover, gases that were trapped inside the liquid. And it's meant to be like kind of a spiced apple cider, like kind of thing that you might have like with, I don't know. I mean, like I think of it kind of like something that I would drink in the winter.
Yeah, I was going to say that. We touched on last podcast that fruit mead that we said was kind of like beery.
Yep.
And we would drink that in the summer. That's a great sipping
fruit,
drink.
yep.
Yeah. This is almost the exact opposite. This is a very good like fall winter sipping drink. It's over time, it's developed that little bit of funkiness. There's like a little bit of sour to it. There's a little bit of other stuff.
Was there from the beginning. You haven't had. You never had this version of cider.
Oh, okay. This wasn't okay. I know there was one I tried a while back and didn't like, and we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good mix. I kind of like that. It's almost like a cider sour.
Yep. It's supposed to be like. I didn't put any Granny Smith apples in it, but the ingredients that I put in there were to make it specifically sour. So it's supposed to be a bit sour. It's supposed to be a bit like refreshing on a summer afternoon too, I think, but on a winter afternoon. So like I was thinking, if I made a sour apple cider that was like a beer, this would be great. And one of the things I love about this cider is that, and I haven't made this one on camera. I'm going to try to recreate the recipe for it. Is that it is able to last for a while, and the flavor change is so wonderful as the malolactic fermentation happens. I'm going to make this again, and I'm going to make it with, like wine strength, so probably about 10%, and then make it so that I can just age it for a while.
Yeah,
like a couple.
Just keep a couple bottles in the closet, see what happens.
Yeah. Might even put the wraps on top of it and heat shrink it to like make them
a little extra airtight. Yeah, but that could be very good. These are both winners. I really like these two.
Yeah, I'm very proud of them. They're things that I've been waiting to have you drink with me, because I'm like, man, like I guess about 4 years ago when we started this journey, I was like, man, I can't make anything that like by myself or come up with an idea that's good, because I just don't know enough about this. And the last 4 years, just spending time like learning about this and picking your brain and things like that, I am super proud of this ginger beer. The only thing that I want it to do is be more carbonated, which I can do that under pressure, but I'd like to have a natural carbonation hit it. Yeah. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to work that out a little bit more. I just haven't hit the right mixture of things.
Yeah.
So.
One thing you might do, get like a pH testing strip, see what the pH of this is. Because it might be with all the ginger that's acidic and then all the lemon and lime that's acidic, is even if you leave a little bit of sugar left in it, that yeast is having a hard time, churning in that environment.
I did that with this last one. I have a pH testing kit, and it wasn't too high for it to ferment. The problem, and I also put some lactic acid in it to bring down the acid quality a little bit. Or I think I did. In one of these I did.
Yeah.
But what I think ended up happening is the yeast that I used to do this with, I got too much of it out. I fined it out.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
so there wasn't enough of a colony left.
Yeah, if you've got any of those yeasts that like really compact the bottom well, which I generally like. But yeah, if a lot falls out of suspension, it can be hard to, as you bottle it over, to get a consistent carbonation. Right. Like you'll sometimes get a couple bottles that do really well, just those that get kind of lucky. But the rest of them will have a hard time taking off.
And it's lightly carbonated. It's not completely uncarbonated.
Yeah, it is. It's got like really fine bubbles when you shake it around.
Yep. Yeah. So it does have some, and that gives it like a nice flavor. as you go through.
Yeah, so a little extra energy on the tongue.
So let's talk about Plexamp and the modded mini iPod mini modded iPods. So I did last year. There was an episode that I did in season 3 where we talked about Plexamp, which is the Plex media player that allows you to listen to like FLAC files on your phone, and I love it. Like, I've been using it for a year, and it is awesome. But we're going to talk about Plexamp plus Tidal today. I also wanted to talk about the iPod Mini and the iPod 5th Gen. The 5th Gen I've had since 2007, 2006. I bought it when I didn't live here in North Carolina. It's been through a lot. I have taken it apart, repaired it so the click wheel works properly. I mean, it worked, but it was like stuck. So like I repaired it so everything works properly, cleaned it up, took the hard drive out of it and put an SD card in it. And now it is 128 gigs versus the 30 gigs that it was before. It doesn't quite have enough memory to go up to 256, so I just left it with that. And full disclosure, I used DankPods, which is the like this guy from Australia that does these really funny and sometimes awesome videos about audio gear. He's not super technical, but he loves like iPods and stuff like that. And he's this drummer dude. He's pretty cool. I feel like I could like drink beers with him and hang out, and he would be like a fun guy to hang out with, and we could nerd out on audio gear all day long. But he loves headphones. Like he, gets into like Behringer and Sennheisers and stuff like that. But he also loves like iPods and things like that. And so we have a lot of things in common when it comes to those particular things. Anyways, so I was inspired by him last year to, do this. Yeah. And I have loved it. And the only reason I'm not letting you talk about it first is I just want to put out my experience, and then you can talk about like kind of what you've experienced in just the last little bit with both the headphones, the KZSTs that I got that are IEMs, and these devices. And as a bonus, I also got a thing that I can plug into them that turns them into like Bluetooth devices. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that little gray bag that's over there, it has a Bluetooth transmitter in it that you can just like hook it up to headphones and listen to like whatever you want to. So I don't have to be tied to them. And it's really nice, and it has aptX and everything like that. So I'm pretty excited about this. But first, let's talk about Plexamp real quick. Now, I don't think that you actually ever really used Plexamp because you don't have your own Plex Media server.
No, I don't.
Which I think is a complete travesty. As a nerd, you should have at least a media player that plays like your favorite music or something like that, where you have it available to you.
Part of my problem is I'm on a journey of self-discovery with music. I think I talked about it last time, like last season. I'm still really loving the YouTube music because you can get like actual music, and there's the people have made. I don't think I have listened to the same song for more than a week or two in like the last year and a half, because I'm just finding so much stuff. At some point I'll settle down and be like, here's my top 500, the things I liked the most. And I'll actually go out and buy those musics. And that's the point I think I'll like run into Plex. Because look, there's so much out there. I just recently discovered, I don't remember his name, I'm so sorry. But there's like a composer that goes and makes quote unquote epic versions of like popular media songs. And so he's like made epic versions of the soundtracks from like Halo and Star Wars. Yeah. And let me tell you, they're good.
So I completely agree with you. And this is that guy may disappear in 2 years. He may delete his YouTube channel. And if he did that, what if you wanted to listen to that music at that point in time?
Exactly. That's the thing I'm starting to think about now. Like I'm loving moving through stuff, but at some point, because I'm now just getting into more niche music because I don't like most popular music now. Yeah. So I'm getting into like more niche music. Some of it I'm really digging. So I feel like, I'm getting to that point. I need to start, looking at downloading some of this stuff, saving them somewhere. Because I did have one piece of music I really liked, and I'm gonna tell on myself here. Hopefully, this changes no one's opinion of me. But I found in the same run, I think I've talked about. I listened to like Mongolian throat singing. That was really cool. I found these like what I thought were like fantasy paladin chants and stuff like that. They're really cool. They kind of have that same feel. They're like mystical. So I would listen to those when I was like updating my D&D characters or stuff like that. And I really liked it. And it got taken down. And I was really upset that it got taken down until I kept looking for that same song. Because at the time that I got it, there were several versions. And I just couldn't find it anywhere. And then I found out that evidently, if you know what the chanting means, it was not fantasy paladin stuff. It was real life Templar stuff about wiping out some people in the Middle East. So I felt a little bad about that. So maybe that's the tip to anyone. If you're listening to songs that aren't in your native language, maybe find out what the words mean. Don't be that person who pulls that up, and then someone who does know what it is like,
Well, so there's a little bit of historical stuff there. I mean, just because 50 years ago someone did something that was wrong, and they created something that was beautiful out of this bad thing that they did, it doesn't necessarily mean that work of art has no value. But there are things that, like, so if someone was to, maybe they could leave out some of the singing that's talking about the bad things, or they could change some of the words or things like that. Or, I mean, if that's not possible, like in a chant, because that's the whole piece.
Yeah.
Then you're look, I'm doing this.
Yeah, from the research I did.
Not to be like offensive to people of this kind of area.
Yeah, from the research I did, particular songs like that, and the reason a lot of them were getting banned from streaming media, is that they had been being used in like supremacy videos and stuff like absolutely. That. So it was like, oh man, that on one hand, I like that song. On the other hand, maybe I shouldn't like that song.
Well,
so
I think, I mean, this goes back to like, I like heavy metal, right? Mm-hmm. And there are people that will put heavy metal that I like on things that, I mean, like Black Sabbath, on things that are offensive to some people.
That's very true.
And should be. That doesn't mean that Black Sabbath's music is offensive in and of itself.
Yeah.
Or has no artistic. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, there's a little bit of a decouple of what the artistic value of something is versus what this other thing is. That is a whole other podcast topic.
It is.
I also want to be clear. No one should be cruel or prejudice or bad to anyone. So I am not saying that this, like, you should excuse other people doing bad things with something. I'm just saying, like, from a historical standpoint, if we have Tuvan throat singing and it says something offensive to a group of people, or we have tiki culture and that can be offensive to a group of Peloponnesian people, we should be sensitive to that. But also, there is some historical value there.
Yeah, like I get the core argument. Yeah. You know, and that's the age-old argument, right? Like, this is what humanity has been struggling with for the last 700 or 800 years, probably longer. It's just not really recorded past that. Of the like, where does art have intrinsic value of being art compared to the immediate message of the art? Yeah. Like, I'm sure you can go walking through any, art gallery in the world that features like historical art, and probably at that time some of those paintings weren't okay, and we've lost the context of it. It doesn't bother anybody anymore because now it's just art. Yeah It's
true. And that there are some things that show slaves, they're depictions of the real world. If we forget that stuff, we forget that the atrocities that were committed. We can't forget them. We shouldn't excuse them. But also, just because art depicts them doesn't necessarily mean that art has no value or needs to be erased. Yeah. Because then we end up in a place where we're going into temples that aren't of our religion or our thought process or our philosophy, and we're destroying art that is, telling us how history happened. So anyways, I'll get off my philosophical high horse. Back to music. Plexamp is an awesome way to do the thing that you're talking about doing, because you get your own streaming service, and if you want something that like also pulls in some things like Tidal, you can buy a Tidal subscription and use Plexamp together, and those libraries are combined.
Okay.
So like there are a lot of people who will stream things on YouTube, but they also stream them. They also put them on all of like Spotify and Tidal and stuff like that, and you have that available to you.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't considered that part of it. Maybe I need to hit up Tyler Spotify and see how much of my weird, funky music they have.
Yeah, you probably should. But I mean, even with that, like even if they don't have the weird, funky music, you can like put your weird, funky music on your personal.
That's true.
Like thing, and then anything that's not weird, funky music that you're trying to listen to or trying to explore, you can explore it through that. I loved Google Play Music when it was Google Play Music. I don't love YouTube Music as much.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't let me do some of the things, like I can't do family sharing and stuff like that.
Yeah, it isn't a replacement, because I used to really be into Google Play Music too, and I was really sad when that went away.
Yeah,
because that was much closer to a real music replacement. In terms of like I talked about that, I like at some level having an all integrated store for music. I never really gelled with iTunes, but Google Play was really good because I could get actual albums as well as like anything the artist decides to put it for free. So like a lot of songs were on there, maybe not their greatest hits, but you know, there was still a lot of great free music to discover. YouTube's very opposite of that, where it really is just all, this is music some big artists have put up, but then also here is 5 million songs from random people. I do like, though, they have converted some of the like meme music videos into just the song, so you can still watch the video if you want. But there was one, God, I must have watched it like a decade ago. I was in college. It was, I think it was like the Harvard Talent Contest or something like that. And he kind of played some nice little like Latin-inspired song. But what was so great about it is he spends the first minute purposely playing terrible and being really awkward and like wiping his brow. He was like sweating. And then like once he's done, he said, okay. And then he flips the guitar over to his actual hand and just blows it away.
I've seen that before. That is both hilarious and awesome.
Yeah.
So the other methodology with which you could do this, and something that I'm enjoying, is a standalone music player. So Funkfio and other companies make modern versions of this. Sony still has their Walkman series. But I've found that I really like the Wolfman DAC that's in my 5th gen iPod. It's pleasing to my ears. I enjoy it. But what's so nice about having a standalone player is when someone calls you, it doesn't interrupt your music. When someone sends you a text message, it doesn't interrupt your music. When an app decides it wants to tell you that you haven't paid attention to it in the last 10 minutes, it doesn't interrupt your music.
Yeah.
So I love that I was able to take my iPod and mod it to hold basically most of my music collection. And I still got a little bit of room to add a little bit more if I want to. You know, like I've been digging some of the music from the Cyberpunk soundtrack, and some other like kind of retro 80s cyber, wave kind of music. And I've been able to put that on there, and I've got great sound quality. I can switch out wired or with the new wireless dongle thing. I can have some of my wireless headphones, and I have a good collection of headphones now, and so I get to listen to it in like all sorts of different formats, and it still has a 3.5 millimeter or 2.5 millimeter. I can't remember, but anyways, the small audio jack that goes on it. So like that's really awesome.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Like and I mean, I know you kind of like you aren't attached to like a hardware media player.
Yeah, not anymore. But that used to be like back in college when I listened to music. That's what I did. I could never afford like the really good music players, but I would buy the kind of crappy ones. I'd open them up. If you could install additional hardware space, I would. I go in and like put in new buttons or fix the buttons that are on them. Because I'm one of those people, I listen to music, I just can't leave it alone.
Yep.
Like I lower and raise the volume as the song is going on, so I will tear through buttons. So, I did modifications like that. And they were really fun. And in all honesty, I'm definitely going to look into Plex, especially because it can integrate with some stuff. But for like when I just want to listen to some music, or I want to throw just like some podcast audio on there, because I can't not listen to music when I go out and like exercise. And I've got this nice little walking trail that's about an hour long to go around it in 2 loops. I always bring my phone, my Bluetooth headset. To have something like one of those that just has like my favorite stuff on it that I could loop through is pretty attractive to me. And you kind of you saved it there, because my only complaint was going to be, man, I've really moved away from like physical connection headphones when I exercise. I wouldn't mind doing it when I'm just like sitting at home and listening to music, but I don't want like the cables and stuff when I'm going out for like a long walk. But if you've got little Bluetooth adapters for it that connect them together, that might solve that problem.
So I think what works for me is taking my phone for like exercise and stuff like that, because I don't care if I get a little interrupted, like somebody calls me or something while I'm exercising. Generally me huffing into my microphone as I'm like, doing stuff tells them to, screw off, go away. And if it's something important, I'll stop exercising. When it comes to just pure like sitting in my armchair, sipping some whiskey and listening to music, there are only 2 things that are better than me having my iPod. And the first is having my dedicated headphone amp and DAC, and the second is having like a hi-fi system that I don't own yet. And it's for the convenience of sitting like in that other room, this in the library, and reading and just listening to some music, and it being great sound quality. Just can't beat having like a dedicated audio.
Yeah, I think the use cases though, I think line up. Like how we're using, like what we're doing when we're using them is different. But you want it to be real quiet when it's your you time.
Yeah. And
you get to have your you time at home.
Yeah.
Well, I have a toddler.
Yeah. You don't need to do that.
My you time is when I am out walking. If she's a kid, you put her to bed at 7, but she might not actually fall asleep till 9. She knows how to open doors now, so she'll just come right out and be like, Dad, I had a bad dream. Or worse, Dad, I'm hungry. Because then there's that fight, like, well, you just brush your teeth. It's like, oh, but I'm hungry. I'm not going to go to sleep unless you feed me. I want this terrible thing. It's like, well, how about one of these healthy things? No, I don't know about that, Dad. I'll complain about it.
So let's talk about the KZST headphones before we kind of wrap up the podcast. So another thing that I saw on Dank Pods, this is, I guess, the Dank Pods episode, but he was talking about like headphones that he liked and in-ear monitors, and he talked about these, and I think they're a Chinese brand company that does like audio, and they have some like really high profile audio like in-ear monitors, but they make inexpensive modular IEMs, and basically I've replaced the ear cups, the what are they called? It's the rubber.
Yeah, the little foam filling.
Yeah, and I made foam. I got foam ones for it, and so my investment in both of these is probably around $50. One was 18, one was 25, and then it was about $5 for the foam. And so I didn't have any problem with the cable that came with them, but you can replace the cable.
Yeah.
The 2 headphones, they sound very different. One of them is a little bit brighter, and it's not as deep in the bass. And the other one, like when I'm listening to bass heavy tracks, is really deep. The white ones are, and so there are 2 different models. I can probably look them up and link them in the show notes. But I think that for $50 for 2 pairs of headphones that are in-ear monitors that I can take and they kind of isolate noise and stuff like that, they are pretty on par with even like a Samsung Galaxy Buds or something like that, and they have clearer audio.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, they really punch up for their weight class.
Yeah.
Like, You got to put some money into modifying them to be exactly how like you liked. But even when you include that and you say they're $50, I have bought like $40, $50 in-ear buds that don't have anywhere near the audio quality. And, you pointed out they're not perfect. One of them, the highs were a little bit tinny, and the other one, they had better highs but didn't have as good a bass. But realistically, when you're talking $50 for, especially in-ear, like 50, maybe I should put it that way. They have the sound quality I expect from a $50 to $75 like full-sized headset.
Yeah.
And they're doing that in such a small package.
Yeah. And the fact that they're modular, and you can, and there's even like a Bluetooth module that you can buy and put. I mean, it changes the price to like $200 per set of headphones. But there's a Bluetooth module you can put on these.
And realistically, is that the thing you talked about in the gray bag?
No. That makes the iPod.
Gotcha.
Like these you can get a Bluetooth module that you clip on the back, and it makes them, basically like buds that you put in your ears, like an iPod Pro or something like that.
But here's the thing. Because it's modular, and because I'm assuming you're not fusing those headphones to that Bluetooth module, yes, if you look at it as this is my one pair of headset, it went from $50 now $200 because I bought this Bluetooth piece. You can move that Bluetooth piece around between multiple headsets.
But it has to have the same connector.
Yeah. But that would probably be most of their equipment. At least some of the ones that are in this class.
Yeah. That's like a standard that you can buy for IEMs. So you just move it around between different IEMs.
Then in all honesty, I would consider that. That's like its own thing. I wouldn't include that in the price of the headset. What the headset's doing, the sound quality, everything like that, is really on point for that price point.
Yeah, I agree. I'll include links in the thing if somebody wants to check them out. They totally could. I don't think we aren't an Amazon affiliate or anything like that. One of them I got on eBay, the other one I got on Amazon. But they're, really great stuff. So you should totally check them out. Well, I think that's going to be the end of this episode of this podcast. Next time, we're probably going to talk about the Ubiquiti breach that happened a couple months ago. And we'll see how far we get into some of our other topics. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening. We have social media stuff down in our comments, and there'll be some links to some of the things we talked about in the podcast. But we'll see you next time. Have a great day.